guys, and welcome back to Opal&Mint. I am Ashley, and welcome back to Watercolor Month. If this is your first video for this month, I'm going to link the playlist in the description below so you can see the previous days of Watercolor Month. But we are on day 7, so it's our first full week of Watercolor Month. I'm excited. This is a flower every single day. I've been using the flower color guide, and I just open to a random page and I paint whatever flower I open it up to. But today I wanted to set this aside just for one day because I have some real flowers in my house, which is actually pretty rare. But these beautiful sunflowers are just like saying, paint me, I'm beautiful. So that's what we're gonna be painting today. For a flower every day, I'm gonna pick one of these sunflowers, maybe two. And we're gonna paint a sunflower today for Watercolor Month, day 7. And again, if you have not seen the other ones, these are just very loose, simple paintings. These are not super detailed. I'm wanting these to be things that you can paint in about 10 to 15 minutes, things that beginners can hopefully pick up on as well. So if you are painting along with us, please post it and tag us on Instagram. We would love to see your beautiful paintings as well. But today, we're gonna paint a sunflower, so let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so we are switching up our paper today. I've been using the Bao Academy watercolor paper, and today we're gonna switch it up. And I am currently testing a bunch of 100% cotton watercolor papers to make a video, and this will be my first time painting on this one. So it's interesting. This is a watercolor block, just like the Academy. So let's see what we think of this. This is cold pressed, 100% cotton, 350 GSM. It's 160 pounds instead of 140. I thought it looked a little bit thicker. So, all right. So what kind of paint should I use for this one? Let's look at my 31 purple fish. My collection is always constantly growing of 31 purple fish. But we've got some beautiful yellows that we could use. I think, and this for the center. Okay, I think this is what I'm gonna use. 31 Purple Fish are handmade paints, and these aren't just available all the time. She does drops of different colors. Okay, so for some reason the microphone cut out, so I'm gonna voice over this next part, but we're gonna be doing a side-facing view and forward-facing. So I wanted to show you what the side of this looks like. It has a bunch of green little leaves poking around everywhere. So I wanted to show you what that looked like in the actual flower. So we're gonna start off with this, I think this one's called Honeybee, this yellow from 31 Purple Fish, but just a medium yellow. I was trying to decide what orientation. We're going to do the side-facing one first, and we're going to do just a bunch of petals flaring out, kind of pretend like it's coming from a semicircle. So they're not all coming to one point, but they're coming to kind of a semicircle. And we're going to leave some spaces in between those petals for those little green leaves to poke through. So just kind of make it look full, and but make sure to leave a little bit of white space there, especially if you're using watercolors that are really transparent, because we're going to go in and put those green there after. Okay, next I'm going to take a little bit darker of yellow. This one I believe is called Indian yellow. And we're just going to put in a little bit of depth at some of the base of these petals, and just kind of separate the petals from each other so they're not just a big blob. Just do a little bit of depth here and there. We don't want to go too crazy with this. And then I'm wiping my brush off and I'm just lifting. So we have a little bit of highlight, we have a little bit of depth, and it keeps it nice and loose, but it also is separating those petals and making them look a little bit more real. Okay, so we're going to come back to this one in a second, where we'll be doing all the green in the stem. But first, I want to go on to the next one. So we're going to start off with the center of this, and we're just going to take a nice, I liked this muted green for the center. You can use a sap green, but just do a simple circle. And then around that, there is another circle, and it's kind of just little dots of a little bit deeper yellow, kind of muted. So I'm mixing up a muted yellow and literally just putting dots all around that, making a ring around that green center. And it's okay if some of it bleeds into the other. Just remember, if your brush is really wet, you're going to bleed a lot more than if your brush is tapped off on a paper towel or something. And I felt like it was too yellow. It wouldn't stand out from the petals enough. So I'm adding a little bit of brown here, and I'm just tapping some brown throughout. And then I'm going to wipe my brush off and then just kind of blend that out by just tapping it around. So it looks a little bit more brown yellow than bright yellow. And they'll dull it down a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go back to this honeybee yellow, which is so stunning. And we want this to look full and just, I can't even think of the words, full and very not perfect. We want petals twisting different ways. We want it to look wild and natural and not perfect in any way. So make some of them twist over. Just put a ton of petals in there, make it really full. We'll come back in a minute to add a little bit of depth and detail. So don't worry if some of them get lost behind others. I like to bounce back and forth between sides, so I try to keep them an even length whenever it's a flower that's facing me. Um, Instead of like starting one side and going around in a circle, I kind of bounce back and forth just for my personal preference. But do some that are more pigmented, do some that are more watered down. Try not to make them all look exactly the same. Ugh, I just love sunflowers. They're such a happy, bright, cheery flower. All right, and again, make sure you fill it out. Try and put some behind other ones and make it really full because it's kind of a layered petals and very, very full flower. All right, and now I want to take the deeper yellow. This is Indian yellow again, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I did to the other one. I'm just going to add some depth at the base of some of these petals, kind of in between some of the petals, just to give this flower a little bit more dimension so it doesn't look so flat. And I'm doing this while they are still wet. This is wet on wet, so it can blend in there. We'll come back with some dry, um, wet on dry, so we can have a little bit finer details, but this will kind of blend into the existing color because it is currently wet. But don't be too symmetrical or perfect with it. Just add a few here and there. And then I am going, the other flower is dry now, so I'm going to go ahead and put some little tiny details on it. Um, And I felt like the center needed a little bit more pop after having those bright flowers or bright petals. So I added more green to the center. And then I'm mixing up a brown and yellow to intensify the ring around the green. And again, just a bunch of little dots. Doesn't need to be perfect. All right. So I'm liking where those are. I think we're gonna mix up a green. I'm mixing that muted green from the center in with a deeper green until I get a color I like for the stem. Again, you can use a sap green. That's probably what the closest color would be to what the actual stem is. But we're going to go ahead and put in those little pointy leaf things at the bottom of this flower. So I map out where they're coming to, what point they're going to come to, where that stem is. And you're just going to paint those leaves coming out of that in all directions. Make it wild, chaotic. They come to very fine little twisty points. So keep that in mind. But just kind of put those all over and then some falling down. And again, this green is not the same green that the flower is. I just felt like using it. But if you use a sap green, it'll look a little bit more like the flower. And then once I have those, I'm going to go ahead and pull that stem down, curve it just a little bit. These stems are fairly thick, so you don't have to worry about doing a really fine line. And then we're going to go ahead and put the stem on the other flower as well. And these stems have a bunch of little like knobs on them. And so I go through and just make the stems kind of imperfect and stick little bumps on the, the stems. All right, we're almost done. I'm going to go ahead and take the dotting tool. I've done this on several of the videos. You can use the backside of a brush, anything that's just pointed. You could probably even use a mechanical pencil without the lead, but I'm just doing a little bitty veining on those leaf-like things coming from the base of that flower. You could do this for the petals as well, but I just did it on that. You can also go down the stems if you want, just to add a little bit of lining detail. And we're going to go ahead and do the paint splatter. So do some green and do some yellow and just see what it's looking like. I was trying to evaluate if I wanted to put leaves in it, and I decided after the splatter I didn't. Let's put a little bit more of that Indian yellow on that top flower now that it is drier. We're just going to go through, put some details here and there. Again, don't make it too perfect and don't make it too symmetrical. But just add a few little lines with that deeper color just to give it a little bit more dimension. And that's really all we're going to do for these sunflowers. This one's super easy, super carefree. Um, Again, the point of these videos is not to make perfect, beautiful masterpieces. It's to get you painting every day. And hopefully by the end of the month, we're all going to be better painters because we have painted so many flowers. Not everyone's going to be perfect. But yeah, I hope that you are following along on this and you're painting with us. This was day 7 of Watercolor Month. But if you did enjoy this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you want to see those future videos, hit that subscribe button down below, and we will see you in tomorrow's video.